Fighting games have been in our history for generations, starting from the 1970s and 80s to now we got the mid-2020s. Yes, I said mid-2020s. Holy, that's crazy. But aside from me, thinking about my mortality and all that jazz, fighting games are a dime a dozen, but they all have different takes on it. You have the basics where you can do like the basic movements and hits and stuff like that, but then you got like Street Fighter with special abilities, Mortal Kombat with fatalities and trophies, Smash Brothers with its chaotic design and movement-based kind of system. But here's the thing, all of these games are on flat screen. We haven't seen one in VR that is unique or takes the old inspiration of fighting games and then decides to put it into VR. I bet you know where I'm going with this. Final Fury. Now this game is a VR game that's backed by one of the most experienced fighting game people out there, Justin Wong, and it basically takes the style of Tekken and puts it into VR. Now before I get started, I want to let you know that Final Fury is a game that I'm not sponsored by, but they wanted me to talk about it, at least the good and the bad about the game, and so here I am today talking about this VR fighting game that I think I really haven't seen anyone do yet, which is like bring in the old school fight style of fighting, not like realistic like VR fighting or like boxing or whatever else. We got like a standard old school fighting game that's very much reminiscent of the flat screen games that we all know and love. First of all, obviously we got to talk about the big elephant in the room. It's in VR, so it is very different from the regular fighting games that I used to play. And obviously when you see it on screen, I'll be having two different perspectives. One is like a side scroller that you all know and love, and another one will be a first person perspective, which I find cool and I'll talk about here later. But this game does really capture what a regular fighting game is meant to have. Cool characters, cool fighting styles, cool combos, and cool abilities for each character. And the good thing too is that it's not a carbon copy exactly of fighting games entirely. They are very similar and have the basics of a fighting game, but it's not like a Gorilla Tag clone where everyone's like, oh, it's a unique experience, except Gorilla Tag with guns, Gorilla Tag but hide and seek, Gorilla Tag but horror. It's not like that. It's its own unique style to it, and I kind of like the idea of it not fully copying everything from old school fighting games, but still having the reminiscence of it all. It kind of gives a good vibe, in my opinion, to people who want to try out fighting games for the first time in VR. This would be a great game to start off with because it's very basic. You obviously have punches, and those punches actually have reach. I think each character have their own reach. I'll have to double check on that, but you can grapple people, you can block, you can retaliate. There's a bunch of stuff that would be the basics of like fighting games, of what you would have in a fighting game. The only difference is that the punches have different range, and there's also rollback netcode in a VR game, which is odd to me because I would usually hear that and be like, that's awesome, and I'd see it on the flat screen and be like, this feels great, but now we have that in VR. It's just odd to me. Then you also have special abilities with each character. Like, for example, Diesel has an axe guitar that's pretty cool. He can swing it down if he wants to, or try to grab people from a distance by strumming his guitar super fast. It's really cool. And not to mention, also, Diza gives the people's elbow to the people that are, like, running around, just fucking elbow dropping people. I like this character, as you can tell. I'm a big fan of him, but honestly, that's really it. There's special abilities each character has, but nothing too crazy. There's like rooting, people with grabs, and people who can place mines and stuff. The basics you would normally see in like Mortal Kombat, for example. But there isn't really anything else per se, and I think that's the downside of the game right now. Just because I've played a lot of fighting games previously in my life. I played Smash Bros, I played Mortal Kombat, Street Fighter, Tekken. I played all these games before. Never gone to high rank, but I can give like the basic knowledge of what, those games are and what they're meant to be. And to be honest with you, this game doesn't really have anything other than just it being in VR and it's a fighting game. There's no like uppercuts, there's no high, mids, lows, there's no like real basics like of those fighting games. There's just punches, and then that's it. There's no way to do kicks, there's no ways to do like uppercuts, there's no ways to do special punches that are very unique and stylistic to fighting games in general. It's just basic punches, basic special abilities, basic grapples, and, you know, the basics. It's like I keep saying it's basic, but it is in early access. I would expect them to add in more features into the future, and to be honest with you, it's not really a bad deal for an early access title to be this basic. You gotta build up the foundations, right? So I'm giving a little leniency for the basics of it, but that is my problem with it right now. It just feels too easy. It feels too basic for someone to try to go and get into that high skill ceiling, but there are some like techniques that you can use. For example, with Glitch, you can shoot a rocket and there's a puff of smoke that allow you to be able to cover yourself essentially, and then you can grapple the enemies if you wanted to and see where they're going. Now, there's obviously movement as well, like dashing, stuff like that, but nothing too crazy out of the ordinary. It's just what VR fighting games would be like if you decided to put like Tekken into, you know, VR. That's basically it, except they removed low kicks and mid punches and even high kicks or high punches. It's just punches. And the character designs are pretty cool. I really like the design of Diesel. Again, big fan of Diesel. I also like Tempest as well because she reminds me of the Dark Elves from World of Warcraft for some reason. And there's a couple of characters that I do like as well, but none of them really stuck out other than Diesel because Diesel just looks fucking cool. He's probably the best character in that game aside from the Edgelord himself. I forgot his name. It was like something with V. Valdiri or whatever else. I just unlocked him. I don't even remember his name, but all these other characters do have unique styles to them, but they do feel different in a sense. Like, I think each character feels different in their own aspects or their own realm, and it doesn't feel like they're part of the same universe. But I don't think it's a bad thing if they're trying to go down that route. I just feel like the way that they are building this stuff up right now and the way the characters are, they're cool, they're great, but do they fit an aesthetic that's part of what Final Fury is, right? There's not really a cohesive, like, theme. And a couple other things, too, I can make, you know, my little gripes on. But honestly, it's not a bad idea that they are different or unique because it gives people to understand the character designs and the flaws of them and, you know, understand like deep lore if they'll ever add that. I don't know if they will exactly. There's not too much to go off for lore, but I will say it is pretty good to see a little biography of the characters and their whole life and their whole meaning, if you will, of why they live. Now, interesting about this game is it's also made by the people who made Synth Riders. For those who don't know, Synth Riders is basically if you were to take Beat Saber, but you have lines and it's a synthwave aesthetic. Doesn't seem like a bad game at all. I haven't played it personally, but they did come out in 2018, and them going from a beat game to a beat 'em up game, it's interesting. It's an interesting take. I don't know how they're going to really make this game work, but right now it's feeling pretty solid. It's got the basics of what a fighting game needs, except I just wish they added in more mechanics to the game, like high, mid, or low blows, stuff like that. Just me personally. And now on to progression. Right now, doesn't seem really too much for the progress other than unlocking skins in arcade mode, which, by the way, I did unlock Rose Quartz skin for Tempest, and it looks really good. So I'd assume that the skins for the characters are going to be great. But other than that, there's not really any progress. I haven't even seen anything for like competitive mode or anything along those lines, which granted makes sense because VR is very small and trying to make a competitive game mode already doesn't seem like a smart choice. But at the same time, what progress is there for me to play this game other than just beating my friends up to, you know, getting bragging rights, right? It is simple, and I think that's just the downside of it. There are game modes to play. There's like training, there's arcade, and then there's like 1v1s, and then you can also do 1v1s online. But it's also to mention that it took a while for me to even get into a game for the first time, that I actually had to play a lot of this game offline than online. But a lot of people said that the weekend is a great way for people to join up and, you know, get to fight people one-on-one. So I might be doing that this weekend to see how it really feels or plays out. But to be honest with you, it doesn't really feel all too unique. That's the thing about this whole game, is it doesn't feel as unique as I thought it would. The style's great, the characters look great, the art style is great, but the gameplay feels too simple for a fighting game nowadays. I feel like fighting games just have this weird thing to it where a lot of people really enjoy building up combos, right? So you want to build up a combo like in Killer Instinct, for example. You just want to hit everyone for a long time and just get their health down fully and just combo up those combos into a combo so combo-y that it makes everything look like a fucking combo. I keep saying combo a lot. Holy shit. Anyways, and in this game, it doesn't really feel like that. All it really feels is I'm comboing up with punches that I can hit from a far distance, and there's no real, like, close quarters other than, like, grappling or playing Diesel, right? But I wanted to talk about this for the content creators out there who enjoy making content on VR. Guess what? They gave us a VR spectating screen that's not ass. Oh my god, I'm so fucking happy about this. Okay, listen. For those that don't know, and I just talked about this earlier, they added in these VR cameras that allowed this unique style of, okay, do you want to see it from a side-scrolling perspective? Or do you want to see it from a first-person perspective? Genius fucking idea. I love the idea of that. I'm glad they added that in. That's really creative. And honestly, they said that the LIV team worked with them to, I think, to make that happen, if I recall. They did give, special thanks to them in the credits whenever I was reading them. So, to be honest with you, for creators, this will be great in the near future if this game gets a little bit more popular and a lot more mechanics are involved and make it much more unique. I think this game could pop off. It has great potential, which brings me to my final verdict. I'm going to give this game a 3 out of 5. I don't think it's bad. I think there's a lot of potential in this game if they add in more features and more depth to it that makes it feel like an actual fighting game. But right now, it feels like the most basic fighting game you can get, but it just has the button VR aspect to it, right? Tekken, but in VR. Street Fighter, but in VR. Mortal Kombat, but in VR. Whatever you want to call it. I think it is a fighting game in VR, but it doesn't have a full-on identity just yet. It's basically just Tekken, but watered down a little bit. Not a big fan of that, but to the developers, I don't mean to say it's a bad thing. I think, obviously, since it's in early access, it makes sense that this game would not have the most detailed or whatever else needed, but I do hope that maybe in the future, maybe more features will be added to make it more unique and stylistic for people to jump on in and to reach up that high skill ceiling that a lot of people love in VR gaming, especially with fighting games, I should say. But with it only having so much progression and having 3 game modes, it feels very generic and basic, which is why I'm giving it a 3 out of 5, but you have a good solid foundation to build off. I suggest to people, if you want to get this game, it's only $10. Not a bad deal. For a game like this in early access, not a bad deal for $10. Have you seen the other prices on other VR games? $25 for Silent North? Yeah, I'm calling you out, Combat Waffle Studios. Where the fuck is the content at? But yeah, I think there's a good solid foundation they're building off, and I'm hoping that a story mode is added in. That'd be a great way to, like, introduce people to this awesome game, and making it a good story too, making it a great story will get everyone to join in and say, what's up, man? Trust me, people love single-player games. In VR specifically, if they want to just have the time of their lives and have an option to just fight and do a campaign, add that in there, man. You'll get a lot of people in there. Trust me. And that's it for me, everybody. If you want to go and check out this game, there will be a link in the description down below that I am not affiliated with. This is just the store page. I do not get anything affiliated with this. This is just me making it easier for you guys to see where this game is at so you can make a decision by yourself if it is worth $10 or not. But that's really it. And I really hope that the game succeeds, and I really hope that people at the developer group will capitalize on what this game has for potential. But anyways, that's it for me, everyone. Deuces. Take care, y'all.